Good morning, YouTube. How you guys doing today? So we are at day 29, at the day 29 mark of the government shutdown. And we know that a lot of the government workers, are furloughed workers. A lot of people are really going through it right now. They're having hard times paying their bills and all of this and all that. So I'm going to play a little, but this report that I'm going to play for you guys, the audio, is not so much about the government shutdown. It is about the bigger issue that's going on, because a lot of people have figured out now that there is so much going on besides Trump fighting with his own party as well as the Democratic Party in order to garner $5 million for a wall. There are a lot of other things going on here. A lot of underhanded, insidious things going on here. And one of the things that's going on is his government is attacking of the working poor and the socioeconomically depressed peoples in this country. Okay, and as just real quick, SNAP benefits will close after January 20th. We know this, and food stamps and WIC also will run out of funds if the government shutdowns continues into February. And not only that, Trump has been giving out these ominous speeches, telling people to prepare to flee the cities, no food stamps, civil crisis, and all of this and all that. And he's saying things like that, giving those the buzzwords off, trying to make it seem like to his base, which are mostly white and rural and working class Anglo Americans. He's trying to make it seem like to them that they're going to be okay. Not even these people are not even realizing that the people that are mostly going to be affected by these benefits being cut off after January the 20th are his base, are white, working, and lower than socioeconomically middle class people. These are the most people that are going to be affected. Anyway, let me play this audio for you guys, and I'll come back to close.
We thought it was a tremendous idea. So what we do is propose that for folks who are on food stamps, part, not all, part of their benefits come in the actual sort of, and I don't want to steal somebody's copyright, but a blue apron type program where you actually receive the food instead of receive the cash. It lowers the cost to us because we can buy prices at wholesale whereas they have to buy it at retail. It also makes sure that they're getting nutritious food. So we're pretty excited about that. That's a tremendous cost savings.
Donald Trump's latest genius idea, cutting out half of the cash benefits that most recipients of SNAP benefits, once commonly known as food stamps, receive, and replacing the funds with a box of canned vegetables, cereal, and other non-perishable foods, called America's Harvest Box, despite the fact that it would have zero freshly harvested food. The administration claims the box will somehow improve beneficiaries' nutrition and at the same time slash costs to the tune of $12 billion a year. Joining me now is Tom Colicchio, food policy activist, chef, and owner of Crafted Hospitality. And on the phone with us is Bishop William Barber, president of Repairers of the Breach. And Tom, I'll come to you first. Their idea is to essentially slash the benefits to SNAP in half, essentially. In 2019, it would be a $17.2 billion program. In 2019, they would slash $213.5 billion. They would add work requirements. They would limit eligibility. They would end a nutrition education program. And then they would add costs by having to deliver this box of unperishable food.
Right.
In your view, is this a good idea?
No, this is just an assault on the poor. This Trump administration, they have this obsession with all things Russia. This is like 1960 Soviet era, policy. The idea that these small government Republicans are going to actually replace a public-private partnership, free market enterprise with a bureaucracy that is somehow going to package 16 million meals or 16 million boxes per month and save money. just doesn't make sense at all.
And the idea that poor people will lose the right to choose what they eat, that essentially a big government bureaucrat, that's really big government, will choose the food you eat, and you don't have a choice. You get this box.
Right. Look what they did with Michelle Obama when she suggests that maybe we should eat more nutritious foods for school lunch.
Exactly.
And so, no, this just smacks with hypocrisy.
It's amazing, Bishop Barber, because the part of this seems to be rooted in the perception that people who are struggling are mostly non-white, and that they are leeching off the system, sitting around driving a Cadillac and eating lobster and steak is what fills up my mentions whenever we talk about the poor. But the fact is, the Washington Post just put out statistic from the census that 17% of the people who will be impacted by this policy change are rural Americans, and only 13% are urban.
Yeah, and the majority are white and women. I mean, when you look at poverty in this country, you know, there are 8 million more poor white people than there are African Americans, and the majority of these people live in the very states where many of these politicians get elected by voter suppression and other racial ways. You know, the Southern strategy, I've mentioned a lot of times on this phone, part of the Southern strategy began in the 1968 in order to control the Congress and try to control the presidency was to teach that somehow entitlements and programs were you know, black and brown people getting things that was hurting white people. And so the programs were racialized. And I was thinking, Joe, this was a triple threat. It's like a 19th century, you know, ghost of days past. This man with, you know, he had a cross on his forehead doing Lent. This is on Wednesday, for Ash Wednesday. And none of these policies line up with Christ. They're talking about health care, cutting millions of people, food now to millions of people, and even heat to 7 million people. They're talking about taking it. It's a triple threat and a direct attack on the poor and the working poor.
It's amazing, Tom, because you're not talking about a lot of money per person. You know, SNAP benefits are only about $125 a month, $126 a month, $254 a household. 94% of the funding for this program goes right to benefits that get spent at your local grocery store, that get spent in Walmart. Through the freedom of choice, people spend 100% of their benefits. You can't keep any of it. You have to spend it, and that means you're buying food from food manufacturers. How can Republicans interpret that as a bad idea? Doesn't it help the economy?
Of course it helps the economy. And you know, also, there are great programs like the Double Up program where if you're a SNAP recipient and you're shopping in a farmer's market, you're actually getting double the amount of your benefit. That money goes directly to farmers.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so there's also a multiplier effect. For every dollar spent through the SNAP system, it actually creates about $1.75 of economic activity.
Yeah.
So it's actually great for communities as well. So no, this you know, we need, let's really start talking about nutrition, because that's really the crux of this year. Children, when they go to school, if they have a proper breakfast, they actually can learn. We're talking about seniors. We're talking about people with disabilities. This is the way they actually feed themselves. We're also talking about 1.5 million veterans who protected this country, who are struggling to feed themselves because they come home with PTSD and they're really struggling to find work. We're also talking about active military that this will hurt as well because they're on SNAP as well.
Yeah.
And so we're talking about the working poor. We're not talking about people who are looking for a handout. We're talking about children, seniors, people with disabilities, and people that are working.
Working minimum wage or at Walmart.
Exactly. And so this is just a terrible idea. We actually need to increase the benefits of SNAP so people can actually afford healthy food.
Yeah.
Because right now we have about $200 billion of healthcare costs that are associated with poor diet because people can't afford nutrition.
Yeah.
They can afford calories, but they can't afford nutrition.
That's an excellent point. And you know, Bishop Barber, you work a lot in the rural communities in North Carolina. I mean, what happens if they're also cutting the post office and want to cut that back? What happens if someone's box doesn't get delivered? What happens if it's out in the rain and gets wet? What happens if the children in the household are allergic to what's in the box? Where is the church? Where is the white evangelical church to say that this is cruelty? And it's not just cruelty they think it's cruelty to black and brown people, but you personally know that this is also the white rural poor.
Well, all over the South and other places, the homeless, whether it's in Seattle, Washington, where there are homeless people in the harbor, or whether it's in Alabama, whether it's in North Carolina. And I think the so-called evangelicals are where they normally are. They're not with Jesus. They are not with the Jesus who talked about good news to the poor. They are not with the scriptures that talked about how we should not be attacking the poor. And I do want to say this is not just about the work, but it's about the poor. And you have to say the poor because people suggest that people are not working poor, then somehow they're just lazy. No, people are trapped in systemic poverty. And what we are demanding overall issue, Joy, here is we got 14 million poor children, for instance, in the country. You're talking about an administration that will give trillions of greedy tax welfare to the greedy. They will give billions to banks and say banks are too big to fail and give them billions, and then put billions in a wall, but then they want to give boxes to the poor and to the working poor. I mean, it's so immoral. It's a contradiction to our scriptures, a contradiction to our Constitution, the establishment of justice and the promotion of the general welfare. But then, Joy, there's another thing, lastly, and I want to say this deeply from a moral perspective, and that is the question before America. How much have you had to dehumanize yourself in order to use power in such ways to dehumanize others? And Americans have to stand up and say, we're not going to allow this to happen in our name, with our government, with our democracy.
Yeah, indeed. We are reminded that when Jesus fed the multitudes, he gave them fresh fish.
Yeah, and fresh bread.
Amen. Tom Colicchio, Bishop William Barber, thank you both very much.
Wow. So, like I said, after February, when these funds run out, if the government shutdown is still in place, they're planning to send people out of these what I call mass genocidal food boxes, okay? And they're letting people think that these things are going to only hurt people that receive these social benefits, receive SNAP benefits and benefits of that nature. They're letting people think that some people are thinking that it is, like I said, it's going to affect the poor, but that is not true. You know what I mean? And I've heard a lot of black men in particular on YouTube, which is why I'm doing this video. They are happy and gleeful about this thing that is getting ready to take place in this country, and it is about so much more than food stamps and HUD. You know, for some reason, there are a lot of black men in particular jealous of women getting food stamps and housing. Now, I don't know why that is, because poor is poor, honey. And if you're poor to a point to where you need government assistance to put a roof over your head and food over you and your kids' mouth, honey, that is nothing to be jealous of. And I think it's just sad. And part of the issue going on is they're saying, well, the women are going to need us again. They're going to bring us back in the home. And they're thinking if women are going to need them again, they get to come back in the home and treat them like crap. It's because the men are going to go to work. And because we're bringing in all the bacon, we get to treat you any kind of way we want to. Now, y'all know good and well this is not 1950s America, okay? Ain't no women. I don't know a lot of women that are going for that. But anyway, a lot of these people, you know, they sound bitter. You know, like I said, they think that what's going on in this country is only going to affect black people. And that is not the truth. You know, it's also affecting the working poor and what was once considered to be middle-class white America. It is affecting rural white America more so than it is affecting black America. Because the man said that there are 8 million more poor white people in this country than black people. And we know it's black people that the only thing is going to happen to those people that are deprived those benefits, their survival instinct is going to kick in. Okay? Like the survival instinct kicked in when they were taken from their motherland and enslaved, and they were only fed slop. You know, they made food out of things that the white people turned their nose up at. Though a lot of those things are served for hundreds of dollars a plate in these high-end restaurants. Things like chitterlings. A lot of black people turn up their nose, really, as they should, when it comes to eating things that the old folks used to eat, like chitterlings and pig's feet and pig ears, you know. But a lot of our people, a lot of our elders, a lot of our ancestors survived off of things that white people wouldn't eat or they didn't know they could eat. And those things are now delicacy, like greens, collard greens, mustard greens, kale. You know, these young, especially these young health conscious white people, they live off of kale. They put it in their smoothies. Excuse me. White people didn't even know that they could eat those sort of things until the slave, the poor black people, had to learn how to make a way out of no way. Did you know that it was once frowned upon by a lot of white people to eat the chicken wing? Do you see what I'm saying? The chicken wing is it costs more for a bag of chicken wings these days than it does a pack of chicken breast. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's all things of that nature. So in essence, you're not hurting black people because we know how to make a way out of no way. But what you are doing is you are hurting your own base. And I think that he knows this. He doesn't care. I think that he wants to throw this country in a state of anarchy so that he can impose martial law. Because like they said on the interview, he's obsessed with 1960s Russia. Okay, that is what he wants to turn this country into a country that doesn't help its elderly and its poor people or its working poor people. Doesn't help you at all. But that's okay, like I said, because he hurt more of his base than he hurting his own people, than he's hurting black people. And I think he knows that. Anyway, guys, this is not such a happy subject, but I really wanted to bring this up because of all the pathetic comments that I've been hearing mostly from black men on social media concerning this issue. And they're so stupid to think that when you cut off somebody's food stamp or housing, it's going to be good for them. See, that's why we have so many ignorant black men supporting Donald Trump right to this day. Because they're thinking the grass is going to be greener on Donald Trump's side. No, honey. You're going to suffer just like everybody else in this country. All right? The only people that are going to benefit from all of this nonsense is the elites. Okay? Is the people that already have much more than they need, much more than they deserve. Anyway, that is the only thing, that's the only people that are going to receive some kind of extra benefits from this dehumanization of the country's, working poor and elderly and children. Because those are the people that are going to suffer. But as for black people, we're going to be all right. Because we know how to make a way out of no way, like I said once again, and we know how to survive. We know how to feed our children with or without a man in the house. All right. So anyway, I'm gonna close, guys, because I don't want this to go on too long. Let me know what you think about this video in the comment section below. Like, share, subscribe. Let's get this conversation started. And I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Bye-bye. Peace.